What do the new incentives in the federal budget mean for homebuyers? Okay, so the federal government today released their 2019 budget. They made some changes, a few to the mortgage rules, targeted, let's call a spade on this, probably vote buying, and that's coming from somebody who I'm politically agnostic. I don't really identify with liberals or conservatives. I'm an economist, so that probably makes me fiscally conservative. I don't think the rule changes were anything more than just vote buying. They're gonna help a little bit for first-time homebuyers, but really that's the only people affected. Let's get into the details of the changes. So the first change, and probably the prudent one, is the increase to the limit that a first-time homebuyer can take out of their RRSPs interest-free in order to purchase a home. It's increased from $25,000 to $35,000. I think when you have rising housing prices, giving access to borrow money that you've saved anyways yourself is probably a good idea. So I think that's a great change, prudent change, and something that will definitely help. We see quite frequently clients who kind of butt up against that limit of what they can take out of their RRSP interest-free. Increasing it to $35,000 is a good change. Now let's talk about the second change, and this is the shared equity ownership with CMHC on purchasing a property. This is for first-time homebuyers who have an income of up to $120,000 for the household. And basically what it does is it says, okay, on a $400,000 mortgage, you still got to put 5% down, but we're going to match, or actually go over and above matching, depending on what type of property you're going to buy. So if you're buying a resale property, CMHC is saying, we'll give you $20,000 in an equity share that you have to pay back when you sell the property eventually. And if you're buying a new home, you can go up to $40,000. So this is by percentage, not by dollar amount. This is just on a $400,000 example. It's basically 5% and 10% equity share in the property if you are buying with the CMHC mortgage. Now, I'm guessing there's going to be some sort of increased insurance premium for this, but basically what it allows a client to do is, instead of buying a $400,000 house and having a $380,000 mortgage, they'll have a $360,000 mortgage instead on a resale property, or on a new property, they'll have a $340,000 or mortgage. Now, I don't get why they've incentivized consumers, first-time homebuyers, to buy new. I'm a big believer in a first-time homebuyer buying a resale house because, you know, the house has been lived in, and the problems that happen in those first couple of years, and there's almost always problems in the first couple of years, have kind of been ironed out. I like a first-time homebuyer buying a resale property, but for some reason the federal government has decided to incentivize new home sales. Now I'm guessing that's probably because there was better lobbying from new home salespeople than there were from realtors, and I guess you can argue that new home sales, building houses, creates more jobs than incentivizing resale housing. But you know, why they did that, I'm not sure. I still think this comes down to looking a lot like vote buying, but hey, it gives a purchaser the ability to buy with a smaller mortgage. Smaller mortgage means smaller payments and a little bit more of a manageable mortgage. To put this another way, if somebody could only buy a $360,000 property before, now they're looking at being able to purchase close to a $400,000 property if they're buying a brand new build. So, you know, it's interesting, it's targeted. I think they could have made this a lot simpler. You know, taking politics out of this, you go back to the conservative government changes that were made, they were all fairly simple. It was like remove 30-year amortization and 35-year amortization and make specific changes. Now all of a sudden the liberals in the last 4 years have just made the mortgage market super complicated. That's good for me. I'm a mortgage broker. It means that clients need my services because, you know, just walking into one bank doesn't necessarily mean they're getting the right product, or what's available at BMO may not be available at RBC, and knowing where certain things are available and being more specialized creates more market share for us. But at the end of the day, I don't get why we have to make everything so complicated. By the way, the bureaucratic nightmare that this is going to create, trying to manage who has equity in what house and all of that crap, it's absolutely ridiculous. But I guess that means more jobs too. So, you know, we'll see what happens. I like the RRSP change. Not sure I'm a huge fan of the equity change. By the way, don't expect to be able to do an equity share with CMHC until September of 2019, closer to when the vote will be. I'm guessing that the federal government is hoping that if they implement the changes in September 2019, closer to when the federal election will be, that some first-time homebuyers are going to show up and show their enthusiasm and their appreciation at the ballot box for these new changes. So interesting changes today. We'll see what happens. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know if it's going to have more effect on the political landscape or the mortgage and real estate landscape, but definitely it's going to have at least some sort of effect, and time will tell what happens with it. So that's my thoughts on the federal budget today. If you've got yours, leave them in the comments below. And hey, if you found this video informative or you liked it, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button below, and give me a little love. Thanks.